Fall in love with 252 exclusive offers on the Citroën range at Hugo Luna Motors today. Explore our impressive collection of Citroën cars and vans, where advanced comfort, style, safety and reliability all come together. Order your 252 today and take advantage of low-rate finance, a €500 deposit contribution and avail of a free home charger. Book your test drive today at hugolunamotors.ie. Citroën. For everyone, like no one.
Citroën. Country Life on Midlands 103. Brought to you by W. Orshaw, Burlington Business Park, Tullamore. Supplier of New Holland's tractors in the Midlands. worshaw.ie.
Now, good evening and welcome to Country Life here on Midlands 103. It's MJ Clery with you for the next hour, bringing you the latest from the Midlands and further afield from the worlds of agriculture, food and agri-business. It's Wednesday, 22nd of October, so we have about, 8-9 days left of the long evenings, in inverted commas. Clocks are going to be changing on a Saturday week. And speaking of that, the weather has been, bit of rain over the weekend. Heavy shower on the drive down from myself here from Borough through to Tullamore. But then Tullamore was grand and dry. And in general, ground conditions good. We can't complain for the 22nd of October. Lots and lots of cattle still out all over the country, and at this time of the year we are in bonus territory, as they say, so we are going well. And next week, not bad again. I see temperatures in around 8, 9, 10, early double figures, but dry for the majority of the week, so that is what we want to bring us up into the end of the month and the start of November. Now in a moment, Adam Woods from the Farmers Journal is going to join me to chat about the cattle trade, Tullamore Farm. They have a heifer sale next week in Rossgrey as well, a few bits to talk about there. Also this evening, the TB budget received a boost in the budget a few weeks back, and the IFA are calling for that money to go into raising the compensation levels for cattle. As we know, there's certain levels there for pedigree and commercial cattle. TJ Matter from the IFA will chat to me about that. He'll also explain some of the new rules that will affect farmers going forward. There's a lot of rules here, be it beef farmers, dairy farmers, different movements, different dates, percentages of the herd going down, an awful lot to talk about. So we'll hit on maybe 3 or 4 of the big ones, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Imelda Middleton-Leonard is from Moat in County Westmeath. She's a shorthorn breeder, and she's the first female president of the Shorthorn Society. They have their annual sale in Carrick-on-Shannon early next month, and Imelda will join me to chat about that and the breed later in the programme. Also, Dawn Meats have just done a deal that will see a lot more New Zealand lamb on supermarket shelves here in Ireland. It's not good news for sheep farmers. Willie Shaw is the sheep chair from the ICSA. He's going to join me later to give an insight into what exactly is happening and what it will mean for Irish sheep farmers. As always, text me here or WhatsApp me 083 30 10 103. And we're going to kick off, as I said, Adam Woods from the Farmers Journal is joining me. Adam, all the way from County Donegal this evening.
Yes, indeed, MJ. Donegal town. We're just getting ready for a livestock demo here in the local mart. It's a local vet. I'm giving a bit of an update on Mark. It's one of those winter meetings that we sometimes do around the country, and then we're in Donegal tonight.
And you're focusing on an aspect, I suppose, this time of the year, cattle going into shed, but fluke is what you're talking about this evening in Donegal.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions around, I suppose, dosing and maybe vaccinations of weanlings. Obviously, that's been in the news over the last couple of weeks around export or boycott and stuff, around vaccinating. So that's going to be talked about tonight. But yeah, fluke, just talking to a couple of guys here before we're ready to kick off, and they were saying that the local factory was telling them a lot of rumen fluke in rumens that they're finding sort of cropping up over the last couple of weeks. I wouldn't have thought that would be an issue given the year that we've had, but it's interesting to see. And there's a vet here, a local vet, Nick Garvey, so I'm going to talk to him tonight about it, and we'll cover it in the paper next week.
Yeah, very good. We are looking at the Farmers Journal tomorrow. Have your press release in. So look, your headline is milk prices slashed as supply soars. That's on the dairy side of things. But on the beef side of things, bounce in prices for beef cattle. Factory base quotes rise 20 cent a kilo. Good news. What's behind this, Adam?
Yeah, big turnaround, MJ. I guess a bit of pressure there for the last couple of weeks, but in the last sort of 2-3 weeks, a huge turnaround. And look at this on the back of really tight supplies. Kill, if we compare the kill this week versus the same week in 2024, we're back almost 13,000 head, which is absolutely huge in terms of volumes of beef. And that's, I guess, a supply and demand when it comes down to it. Looking to the UK, a little bit of positive price movement there in the last week or 10 days, up a penny, up 2 pennies a kilo, so that's moving in the right direction. The north of Ireland as well, going pretty good up there. So our coats have started to move based on factories not being able to get cattle. A little bit of chat out there too in terms of the run up to Christmas. Because carcass weights are a lot lighter than they would have been in the past, and because numbers are so tight, that Christmas buying is actually almost just around the corner in terms of buying for Christmas. Because if you take the sort of 30-day aged Angus or maybe even longer, that brings you right up to sort of December, we'll say, from next week or the week after on. So it's unbelievable that we're here already. So supermarkets do a lot of promotions around Christmas, so obviously they're gearing up for that, and with that has come that price increase this week, and 20 cents in some cases. Like 8.25 flat was the top price I got this week for Angus, we'll say heifers, in-spec Angus heifers, which is a huge improvement on where we were a number of weeks ago. I was at a seminar in Carlow last Tuesday night, and Joe Burke from Borbia was there, and look, it looks pretty positive, to be honest, into 2026. You're looking at a reduction in the kill this year of 150,000, no big recovery in 2026, another reduction in 2026. We're looking at not to the same extent of 150,000 head, but possibly between 35 and 45,000 head. So I guess high exports, lower cow numbers, it's all feeding through to that lower supply of beef cattle.
If we move back across to the mart trade, then, Adam, having a knock-on effect, what are we seeing? What sort of cattle are we seeing coming out in the marts at the moment? Surely the majority of those heavier cattle must be mopped up at this stage.
Yeah, and that's, I guess, factories are there around the ring looking for them at the moment. Those heavier cattle are a very, very solid trade, but I guess it's all about weanings at the moment. That's what the big numbers are. Ennis, I think, up in 1,000 cattle, will say, through the ring there on Tuesday again, up 10, 12 cents on the previous week. Our market analysis in the paper tomorrow would say the same thing, sort of between 8 and 15 cents, depending on the weight categories. Exporters very active again. Obviously, that lumpy skin outbreak in France has caused a little bit of concern. There was some question marks last Friday when that was announced around the closure of the French border as to what that would do for Irish weanlings heading for Italy. We spoke to a couple of exporters over the weekend. I think that's going to be okay. They can still lairage in France, make their way to Italy, once they don't come off on farms in the middle of France. We thought maybe that, given that we'll say Italian customers were locked out of the French market then for weanlings, would that drive the price of Irish weanlings up? Maybe not this time, because I think it's only a temporary ban until the 4th or 5th of November, and I think the Italians are just standing out of the market basically until the French market comes back in. But it's all moving there at weanlings, and you're still up there at $6.50 a kilo for that top third. It's huge money. Tommy Miles is in Cahersiveen and Kerry this week. In compared to the same sale last year, you're up 800, 1,000 a weanling on the same sale. So again, it's all about the suckler cow this year.
Have you come across any prices in the last few weeks? I think it's about 6 weeks since I was talking to Adam. Did you see anything in the last few weeks, smaller, lighter cattle that really blew you away? Or maybe, look, you're seeing so many, it's hard to remember. Was there any in particular that you said to yourself, oh my God, I haven't seen anything like that?
Yeah. Some of those little continentals, in terms of those little, so maybe lighter ones, at 260 kilos, upwards of maybe 1,900 for some of them. It's up at €8 a kilo for some of them. Look, there's huge confidence there, and it's great to see it, but I'd just be questioning that in terms of the long keep cattle. Some of those, we'll say runners, we call them, in terms of Angus and Herefords, maybe around that sort of 200 or 220 kilo mark, they're up at sort of 550 a kilo. They're in 11, 12, 1,300 in some cases, which again, we're a long way away from finish off those. And Teagasc budgets on those, we'll say, for the winter or for next year would leave you up at sort of 750 a kilo. And look, that's a long way away. We don't know what way. Hopefully we'll still be there. I think we're never going to go back to the time. I looked at it today in terms of we're at 770 base price this week for heifers. We were at a 530 base price this week last year. I don't think we're going back there for a long, long time. I think the confidence is there. If we look around the world, Europe is down in beef production. The US is going to be down 4 or 5%. They're in trouble over there with beef prices where they're going. So around the world, beef is in scarce supply, and we're winning on that one.
That's some stat, isn't it? 530 a kg versus 770 a kg in 12 months. Wow. Speaking of weanlings, Adam, Tullamore Farm, I remember this time last year you decided to sell your weanlings, and then the way beef prices went, you maybe if you had went back you might have done it differently, but look, you didn't know at the time. I remember speaking to you in the new year, and you had told us about that decision. This year it's different with the way these weanlings are going. Are you going to keep weanlings? Are you going to bring them onto stores? What's the plan?
Yeah, no, I think we're gonna sell them as weanlings again. We're sort of feeding them for weaning, for weaning and sale at the moment. And I think it just took off a bit of pressure maybe around the spring as well, and let Sean concentrate on calving and lambing. It's a really busy place down there in the springtime. So weaning is completed. We actually went in with paddles this year. Sean went in with paddles, and really, really happy with them in terms of a paddle in the nose, and the sort of the animal, the calf stayed with the cow, but didn't suck, and sort of broke the bond over a number of days. And just took the paddles out again. So happy with that. Really, really stress-free weaning. Obviously, we're gearing up for the heifer sale, which is next Wednesday night in Roscrea. We've 21 heifers, 14 in calves, and 7 maidens. I think the average index for the group is 160, so they're all genotyped, all 4 and 5 star heifers, all in calf to AI bulls for next sort of February, March time. Some of them in calf to sex semen, some of them in calf to conventional semen. So look at a really nice batch of heifers, calving a 2-year-old. They're different to, we see these sales advertised in terms of 5, 6, 7,000 in terms of heifers, but these are a different type of heifer. They're not the 3, 4-year-old heifer, they're a 2-year-old heifer. And look, we've repeat customers coming back there because they go on and do well on those farms. We haven't pumped with meal. I think there's about 300 kilos of meal in them heifers for their lifetime. So again, we're treating them like our own in terms of coming back into the herd. So yeah, hopefully we'll have people down there in Australia next Wednesday night.
Absolutely, I'm sure you will for them, Adam. And the last one then is just grass on the Tullamore farm. Where are you at the moment, or what's the plan with housing?
Yeah, we're pretty good. Sean had built up grass, I suppose, ahead of breeding. Sort of the focus changes now to sheep, we'll say, for a couple of weeks in terms of, he was flushing yos. I think farm cover was up there around 900, so he's really happy with that. And I guess, yos will get top priority now for a couple of weeks of breeding. We have weaned, as I said, some of the cull cows are in, and there's more cattle going to be housed. I guess the rain over the last couple of days, it was doing really well, but that's going to put pressure on now. And as I said, we don't want to eat into the grass supplies for the yos. We want to keep cattle coming into the shed now and keep that grass out there for the ewes.
Yeah, very good. Adam, we will speak to you again on the programme. Many thanks for joining me.
Thanks, MJ.
Adam Woods here from the Farmers Journal, and good news, 20 cents increase there. Base quotes rise by up to 770 flat for heifers, and you heard Adam there saying 825 you heard for inspec Angus heifers, and what a difference from this time last year. Really, really strong beef trade across the board there, be it factory or mart. Now, coming up after the break, we're going to be talking about TB with TJ Maher from the IFA, so stay tuned for that.
Country Life on Midlands 103.
With W.R. Shaw, family owned and serving the Midlands since 1982, we're Ireland's largest independent agri dealer, specialising in New Holland tractors and parts. With over 40 years' experience, we provide top quality sales, service and support. Visit W.R. Shaw in Tullamore and Carlow or online at wrshaw.ie.
And you're very welcome back to Country Life here on Midlands 103. Now we're moving on to TB with TJ Maher from the IFA on the line. TJ, many thanks for taking my call this evening.
Thanks, MJ. Good to talk to you.
Very good, TJ. We haven't spoken since the new TB plan was launched last month. We spoke plenty in the run-up to it, and we're going to get to it in a moment. Well, a few points from it, but first things first, look, a bit of extra money for TB in the budget there a couple of weeks back, and you're calling for it to go into the compensation, I believe.
Well, I think there's a number of key points to find out. First of all, a large proportion of the extra allocation of funding for TB in the budget is already required to pay farmers for the livestock they've lost this year. Thankfully, cattle valuations have increased considerably this year, and also as a result of that, then therefore, live valuation costs to the department have increased. So a large proportion of that will go towards that. The other key factor, of course, is aligned to that is the ceilings that have been in place for a number of years now with the department of €3,000 for commercial cattle and €5,000 for pedigree cattle have now essentially become outdated because the market has passed them out in a real way. And the real principle of live valuation is this: the farmer should get the value of his animal on the basis that she hasn't got any illness or any disease. And thankfully we have good factory cattle making over €8,000, and significantly with beef price now gone over €8 with bonuses and quality assurance for good cattle again this week. That again is going to be achieved with good cattle. You have suckler cows achieving well over €3,000 and good Frisian cows, and obviously the pedigree breed has moved on as well on the basis that stock have a greater value. So I think we have said very clearly to the department all summer that these arbitrary ceilings need to be removed. We accept it, that 3 years ago when they were agreed, they were relevant to the period. We never were in favour of putting in a ceiling, but the department insisted they had one. But the issue is right now is these are not long fit for purpose. And when you have commercial cattle in factories making 3.5 or 3,000 plus, and a valuer is only allowed to value them on the ground for €3,000, and there's a straight see-through value, it's obvious that the ceilings are out of date and badly need to be updated and removed.
And the Minister, I suppose, if you were to say to him, TJ, would come back and say a budget's the budget and that's what he has at the moment and you can't get blood out of a stone, and that would be his argument. I suppose, what would you say back to him in relation to that?
What I would say is, in real terms, this isn't a significant sum of money. So if you have an animal, so the vast majority of animals are not making over €3,000. So you have a very small proportion of animals making over €3,000. But I would say to him, from a farmer perspective, your best animal is now the one that you're not getting properly compensated for. And if there's anything going to aggravate farmers more than anything else, is that the animals that they do not want to sell, if she's a suckler cow, if she's a breeding Frisian cow, that's worth more than €3,000, and the department is insisting that this animal be removed on the basis of disease control, and she is not going to get properly compensated for, that's going to lose the goodwill of farmers very quickly. This isn't going to cost many hundreds of thousands, and that's really what's at stake here. This is the principle about doing the right thing.
Yeah, that's very reasonable. TJ, let's have a chat about a few of the pieces of I'm not going to say legislation, but the rules, I should say, in the new TB plan. Look, there's a lot in it, but for the farmers that are going to be TB testing and moving cattle, especially female cattle, a couple of the big ones, I suppose. The main one that's coming across your desk at the moment, TJ, that farmers are worried about is what?
Well, the first point to say, MJ, is that nothing is introduced just yet, and nothing has been agreed with the department in terms of timescales and the absolute minutiae of these details. And certainly they won't be in before the 1st of January now, and could be sometime later. But the principal issues of change are that whenever these rules are introduced, a breeding Frisian cow must have a pre-movement test. So what does that mean? If you're taking cows to a sale and they're all in 12-month test, that's fine, they can all be sold. But if you want to sell a Frisian cow to another farmer to milk on, to breed, that animal needs a pre-movement test. If she doesn't, and she's bought by somebody, she can only leave that farm to slaughter. So that's the key change. So ultimately, the farmer selling the cow will have to make an assessment of what they believe the best value for the animal is. And obviously the farmers will have to pay for that pre-movement test. The next change is in terms of the suckler cow. The suckler cow is unfortunately been brought into these, which we were very unhappy with, is that the suckler cow can trade as normal for the first 6 months of their test, but after that, a breeding suckler cow will require a pre-movement test. A cow that you're taking to the market that you believe is going for further fattening can be sold, but again, if she's bought by somebody who puts her in calf, she can never leave that farm only to slaughter. So these are parts of the AIM system that will have to be rewritten to manage all this through the mark boards, and that's going to take some time. The other significant change is in herds who have, and there's a lot of detail in this, so forgive me, a farmer who has more than 5% of their herd with TB, if a breeding herd, will have to retain all the cohort animals on their farm for at least 2 years after the last clear test. So in essence, and we take it in simple terms, and that farmer has 100 cows, he loses 5 of them with TB. The 95 cows that were milking in the herd at that time, they cannot be sold after the farmer will get his clear test, and he can sell the rest of his animals after 2 60-day tests, but those animals cannot be sold for 2 years after those clear tests. So essentially those animals will be restricted to the farm for a much longer period.
Yeah, so we're looking really, I suppose, all these rules, TJ, when you are looking at them, the breeding female is the target here on the 3 things that you've announced there.
Yes.
And that's it, I suppose, really. That's just the way we have to look at it now going forward. It's the cow.
Yes, the cow is the breeding. Look, The numbers, and whether we like this or not, the numbers are very clear. Over 70% of TB reactors are dairy cows. Suckler cows make up quite a number of the remainder, but not an exceptional large number. They're probably relevant to the proportion of animals in the country relative to Frisian cows. So the breeding cows, the department is targeting, in particular, the breeding Frisian cow. Some of these rules we feel are quite harsh, but look, these are the department proposals. We have to work with these now. We have to try and make them workable for farmers, because the difficulty here is none of this will make life any easier for a farmer who gets TB. And one of the other additions is that a farmer who has a significant breakdown, which is 5% or more, and has undergone a blood test, they will have to do a further check test after they go clear. So previous to this, a farmer would have to do 2 check tests along with his 2 annual clear tests for 2 years after he got clear. Now he will have to do another test. So in essence, the farmer will end up doing 6 tests in 3 years after he gets a clear TB, 2 clear TB tests after a breakdown. So look at, there's pros and cons for it. The difficulty here is every TB test costs the farmer money, and as we outlined in our IFAC report, the farmer is spending over €150 million in different contributions to this programme, through labour costs, to cleansing costs, time spent doing sourcing and paperwork. So this is going to increase the contribution of the farmer even further. Unfortunately, though, we do have to say, at the levels of TB where we're going, we do recognise, and we recognise as an organisation, we put forward very comprehensive proposals, some of which are included, that we have to get on top of this now.
Yeah, absolutely. TJ, look, you're the man in the know on it. I suppose what I would say, and maybe farmers who are listening, and we'll see what you'll say back to this, TJ, is they might be a bit stressed saying, how am I going to know what the rules are or what we do? But what's the answer to that, TJ, for farmers who might be wondering, how am I going to get my head around all this?
I think that's a very, very fair question. And this is the challenge we will be posing to the department in terms of making these as simple and as straightforward as possible for farmers to understand. I would say there's going to have to be significant training of department staff, of farmers' own vets. We will certainly be holding meetings around the country to assist, but the department has a key role here in communication. And one of the key principles that the department has taken on board and accepted, which we proposed, that there would be consistency across all department offices of message. So if I ring Tullamore, Naas, South to Prairie, Cork or Monaghan, I'll get the same answer. Today that's not happening, and I think that's adding to the confusion. And that will be a challenge for the department. But that's going to have to happen, because, as you have said, this is very confusing, and anything that changes what have been in place as regulations for 30 years is certainly going to add confusion. So I think it's going to be a big job of work for the department. I think we'll assist in every way we can to provide the information to the department, but ultimately we are going to be at the behest of the department to make these rules as easily applicable as possible and use language that farmers are going to understand.
Yeah, well said, TJ. Many thanks for joining me here this evening on the programme. We will speak to you again.
Thanks, MJ. Appreciate that.
TJ Martin there from the IFA, and as I said, TJ is the man in the know on this. He has been directly involved in these negotiations, and there is a lot of information here. I think it's a 29-page document. It came out roughly at the ploughing, and I have been skimming through it, but a lot of change. And look, as TJ said, nothing coming into place yet. In 2025, we'll wait until early 2026, and we'll keep you updated on it. And I couldn't agree more with TJ, though. The department really need to be singing off the same hymn sheet here. We need to know, farmers need to know what these rules are in clear, plain, simple language, and not to be confused on anything. But we will try and help you with that here on the programme, as well as TJ said, with the meetings around the country from the farm organisations and indeed the department. But it is definitively going to be very different than it was. Now, that is it until our ad break. After the ad break, we're going to be speaking, I should say, to Willie Shaw, ICSA Sheep Chair, about Dawn meats and New Zealand lamb and a deal that has been done. So let's stay tuned for that, please.
The French know luxury. Discover the all-new 252 DS Automobiles range at Hugo Luna Motors. Experience pure driving pleasure with DS Automobiles, the French luxury car company. DS's premium range stands out through its charismatic style, interior refinement, sophisticated technology and first-class comfort. Book your test drive today and discover the magic of DS Automobiles at hugolunamotors.ie.
Country Life on Midlands 103.
Brought to you by W.R. Shaw, where New Holland isn't just a brand, it's our passion. For over 40 years, we've been Ireland's trusted name for New Holland tractors, parts and farm machinery. Whether you need new, used or ex-hire tractors, we've got you covered. wrshaw.ie.
And you're very welcome back to Country Life here in Midlands 103. Now we're moving on to sheep, and we have ICSA Sheep Chair Willie Shaw on the line. Willie, many thanks for taking my call this evening.
Good evening, MJ. Good evening.
Willie, we are going to talk about Dawn meats and a New Zealand deal in a moment, but firstly just a word on the trade, and I suppose keeping on the positive side of things from the outset, Willie, your lambs, they've really been the highlight of the sheep trade recently.
Yeah, for sure. Like, there was a great trade for your lambs, especially in the beginning of the breeding sales there. There was some excellent prices got for your lambs, but in fairness, there was great quality there as well. So it was a reflection of lads, what they've done throughout the year to get them to that, you know. Yeah, I'm looking at factory lamb quotes here. Darren Carty has a piece in tomorrow's Farmers Journal. Most factories drop base quotes by 10 cent to around 7.70 a kg. Regular sellers achieving slightly higher prices of 7.90 a kg. That's around where we're at the moment. Willie, look, obviously farmers would like more, but that's where it is. That's where it is, yeah. There seems to be an unwillingness there to break the €8, or at least break it for the ordinary man anyway, €8. The just seems to be a little bit better than last year, but not a whole pile. Like, if we rewound the clock 12 months, Willie, where were we roughly this time last year? Were we breaking 8? Were we up on top of it? No. We were around 760, 765, maybe 770 for anyone with a large amount of lambs this time last year. Yeah, so roughly as you were. I suppose if we're looking at 2025 then as a year. Willie, grass growth was good. Look, the beef farmer had a very good year. And we're not at the end of it yet for sheep farmers, but look, we're coming to the back end of the year. What would you say? Were you happy? Were you sad? Were you indifferent on 2025 as a sheep farmer? Yeah, no, look, 2025 was a good year to farm. Leaving aside the financial side of the thing, like weather dictates a lot to every farmer, tillage, whatever, dairy and whatever it is you're doing. So in fairness to our part of the world, I know that some parts of the country didn't get as good a weather as we did, but grass this year, it grew in your boot, as a neighbour of mine said there this year. Like, it was just phenomenal. Like, yeah, and as you say, it makes it easier for everyone across the board, regardless of what area. Now, the reason I have you on this evening, press release from the ICSA, Willie, and it's in relation to Dawn meats and New Zealand lamb. Can you elaborate on this? What's going on? Yeah, well, our largest lamb processor has gone down south, as the saying goes, down to the Kiwi land to purchase a majority of their largest processor down there. So for an obscene amount of money, something that we can only, it's biblical figures that they're talking about there. So obviously it's a financial move that they seem, obviously, that it's going to be something in their worthwhile interest. Business people don't spend that sort of money for nothing. And as a result of this, then, will you presume we're going to see now New Zealand lamb? I know years and years ago, New Zealand lamb was probably a bit more widespread on Irish supermarket shelves and didn't see as much of it, or maybe it's there and we don't see it. But as a result of this, we're going to have more of it on supermarket shelves, I presume. Yeah, well, maybe not so much with the price of bringing it up. Like, it has come up dramatically. It's not as cheap as it used to be down there because there's less sheep in New Zealand as well. But they're going to bring up the higher end stuff. Well, we're presuming, like, it only makes business sense to bring in, if it costs X amount to move a refrigerated container, they're going to move something that's worthwhile, like.
And as a result of this, then I suppose we have lamb as a relatively seasonal product in Irish supermarkets. But as a result of Southern Hemisphere, different summers, different winter times, I presume from their perspective, then they're looking at trying to keep a constant supply of lamb, if you will, on supermarket shelves. That's probably what they're going to say to justify it.
Yeah, well, that's the bit that we're sort of terrifying us in our on their press release. This year-round supply, normally your Angus Woods was it earlier there said about the supply and demand for beef, and that's the reason beef went back up in the last couple of weeks. If there's no demand, i.e. they can bring it from New Zealand, then how do you create demand if they can bring it from another part of the world?
This does illustrate, Willie, I suppose, as we often say, farming it's gone global. It's been global for many a year now, but in the last number of years, I suppose more so with removal of quotas and whatnot. But here we have sheep farming, and you're going to have a farmer as far away as you can possibly go from Ireland, essentially, going to have a direct effect on what a sheep farmer from Leash Offaly or Westmeath could earn in the coming years. It's one where you do have to look at the world and say it's a small place, really. It's not good news though for Irish sheep farmers. Sheep farmers would prefer if this wasn't occurring.
Sure. This is who's going to win here? It's not going to be the Kiwi farmer either. At the end of the day, I've never seen two farmers compete for anything that won. It'd be vegetables, that'd be the tillage sector at the moment. Any industry that goes out of a country and is 10,000 mile away is not going to be good for the consumer. And bear in mind, there's no traceability. The same EU standards is not in New Zealand as there is here. So it's a substandard product.
Yeah, it's something we're hearing more and more. If we take Mercosur potentially occurring as well with beef, substandard product coming in, flooding the market. Here we have it with lamb as well. And it's Irish farmers who are going to lose out, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's the way we know. I hope we're wrong. I hope that this is all going to end up that the Don ship all that meat. They're saying they're going to do big markets being developed in India and China. And that's great. If that is the case, that's great. But I can't see them paying €9 a kilo here and paying €5 a kilo in New Zealand and not doing the sums. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Willie, what I'm going to say is many thanks for joining me here on the programme, giving us a rundown on that deal and indeed the trade. And we will speak to you again on the show.
Thanks, MJ. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Willie Shaw there from the ICSA, and that is the latest on that. So look, we'll keep you updated and we'll see what way it is going to go, but isn't it indicative of the global market? You look at tillage farming at the moment and it's foreign imports are coming in and they're flooding the market, and that's why tillage prices are so low. We're looking at beef. Obviously beef is good at the moment, but Mercosur could be just around the corner, and again foreign products of a lesser standard coming in, getting the price down. Here's a lamb, the same game, and it's the large businesses that are behind it. Really, at the end of the day, it's all about the balance sheet and all about the profit and loss account. If it makes sense from a financial perspective, then it will be done, and the primary producer is not thought about. That's the reality of it, and that's where it's at. Now we're going to leave that, and after the break we are going to speak to Imelda Middleton Leonard. She's from County Westmeath. She is the president of the Irish Shorthorn Society, in advance of them up in Carrick in a couple of weeks' time, and we're going to hear about her enterprise in just a moment. Stay tuned.
Country Life on Midlands 103
with W.R. Shaw. Looking for the best in farm machinery? We've been supplying top quality New Holland tractors and parts and providing service since 1982. Our expert team is here to keep your farm running smoothly, with branches in Tullamore and Carlow. Visit wrshaw.ie today.
And we're just going to leave Van Morrison playing in the background there because I believe I have my technical difficulty fixed. Let's see. Imelda, do we have you on the line?
Yes, you do.
Great stuff, Imelda. Many thanks for joining me this evening on the programme. It's Imelda Middleton Leonard from County Westmeath, Imelda, and we're speaking to you because there's a lovely 2-page spread here in the Farming Independent. Our listeners here across the Midlands may have seen you yesterday. Pictures of you on the farm, and you are the first female president of the Irish Shorthorn Society, and indeed a shorthorn farmer as well. So many thanks for joining me.
You're welcome. Thanks very much for inviting me on.
More than welcome, Imelda. If, for example, there was a listener and he or she was not familiar with the shorthorn cattle. How would you go about describing them first, please?
They're very docile, they're very easy to handle, easy flesh, and the cows are good mothers, there's great milkability, and they're easy calving. Bulls and cows are both easy calving, they're great mothers, they're good calves, and they're a good suckler choice. They work well on the dairy herd, the bulls. The white bull in particular will bring your lovely blue greys if you cross them on the dairy herd. As a crossbred, or you can use them for pedigree or commercial use. We here have both systems going on the farm. We've pedigree beef shorthorns and we have commercial cattle, and we use both the pedigree shorthorn cow, and we could put a limousine straw into it, or we could put a Belgian blue straw into it, or we could go vice versa, and we could put a limousine straw into a pedigree beef shorthorn cow, or use the pedigree beef shorthorn bull on a commercial cow, and you get lovely cross-coloured calves as well. And very good temperament is what I like, what the shorthorn brings out, and the other cattle, when you cross them, they just make them that bit quieter and easier to handle.
And how long have your family been involved in the shorthorns, Melda?
As long as I can remember. I'm an only child, so I was always my dad's instead of right-hand woman, so I was here on the farm. I've done everything with him as long as I know. My mum as well. I always remember being young on a Saturday, or even in the evening times, you'd have to go herding with mum and dad the whole time. It's always been a family affair. I've married my husband Brian Leonard from Kilcormac, and he's got the bug now of farming as well, and I'm delighted to see my kids Rory and Kelsey are the bug as well. They're all on myself and Brian, my dad, who's going herd, and kids are there for stopping to jump into the jeep to go as well to look at the cattle. So it's great.
Well, we're talking about breeding now. You're after bringing a good bit of breeding into it there. You said your husband Brian is Kilcormac man. It's a bit of Offaly blood there now involved. That's what we want, Melda. And you have, as you said, It's a family affair though. This is what I liked about this article in relation to sucklers. So I suppose, look, this year suckler farming is going to be very good. Last year quite good as well. But for years and years there was not much of a margin. Look, if you did it very well, there was something to be had out of it, but not huge money. But there was a love for it, a love for breeding and a love for stock, and that's exactly what I garner from you when I'm speaking to you, and it's what you want to pass on to the next generation, to your own children, which is super.
Yeah, well, I see it passed on like through generations. The evidence is in my dad. Like he's just got a real grow for suckler farming, and I could see it in my grandfather. I remember him as well, and I remember Dad and him having conversations about farming and picking out cattle and stuff like that down in Mayo. My dad originates from Mayo, and I myself remember those days, and even going down to Grandad's and helping on the farm down there. And it's just passed on down through the years, and it's what I want to keep going. And people sometimes think like, oh, there's big money out farming and this, that and the other, and there's not really. It's if it breaks itself, or if you get a few pound at the end of the year, great. But it's really done for the love of it, and it's all about the care of the animals and everything, and it's a real empathy thing, and I just really enjoy it. Like I couldn't imagine doing anything else but suckler farming. Like as I said before, like it's even with the kids, it's like let's go out and see like daddy cow and mammy cow and the baby calf, and the excitement when it comes to calving season now after Christmas. Like it's, oh, what will this cow have, and what's the calf going to be like, and are we going to have a show calf for next year, because we show like, and it's just it's a love that's there, and the excitement and the anticipation of what you're going to get and stuff. And then you could think you have a good one and you go out show and there could be something better out there and everything. So you just never know. It's always the unknown, but it brings great joy. And even like in the community of farming, like there's great friends. Like I've met the best of friends, like you consider them family, like out of the show scene, and you do anything for each other kind of, and even in good times and bad times, and you fall in and fall out, but like at the end of the day, like you're there to help each other. Like I could take the phone up to some of them at any time or at any hour, and they'd always get an answer or a call back.
Yeah, absolutely. Imelda, just before you go, I'm going to get you to give us a little bit of info on your annual sale, please, for the Shorthorns. When is it coming up, I should say?
So the Irish Shorthorn Society hosts one sale per year, and it's called the Irish Shorthorn Society Premier Sale, and that's for beef cattle, because we are a society for both beef and dairy animals. Beef being the predominant side of this society. The pedigree dairy herds, there aren't as big as there's as big many breeders of them in the country. So about 10 or 15 in total, but the beef breeders, there's more of them there, but I'd like to mention the dairy side of it as well, and they're doing a great job. But our sale is on the 8th of November. The pedigree beef sale is on the 8th of November in the showgrounds, Carrick and Shannon. So everyone would know that, be kind of used to it. It's down where the fat stock sale does be, so it's before the fat stock starts. And it's the 8th of November, Saturday the 8th of November, starting at 9 o'clock with showing, and the sale should commence at 12.
Excellent stuff. Mel, I'm going to say many thanks. Apologies, I had to cut you a little bit short there. We just had that technical glitch, but thank you for joining me this
evening. One other thing I want to hop in, we do raffle a pedigree heifer every year for sale, or we sell tickets just to keep the society going. It's a non-profit organisation, and all the work we do is all voluntary basis. So none of the committee gets any financial benefit out of it. So it's a fundraiser we do to keep everything going there. And if you want to buy tickets, they're online. You could win a lovely pedigree heifer. She's a one that's up there this year. So
excellent stuff. And your website is Irish Shorthorn Society, I presume. It's irishshorthorn.com, and if you scroll down the page go into the latest news, you'll see the tickets for her in there. irishshorthorn.com. Many thanks for joining me, Imelda. Best of luck with your annual sale, and we will speak to you again on the programme.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Thanks for the call.
Imelda Middleton-Leonard, there, President of the Irish Shorthorn Society. And that is it for this evening's programme. I would like to thank you all for joining me here over the course of the last hour, and to thank Imelda just there, who were speaking to Willie Shaw, TJ Matter and Adam Woods at the start of the hour. Show is repeated on Sunday morning at 7 a.m. through to 8 a.m. As always, I'll be back with you this time next week at 7 p.m. So we will speak to you next week. We will say good night and talk to you then.